So last night I was looking for a new series to review, and I had time to do a 2-movie series. So for some weird reason I picked Mirrors, which I'm not really sure why, but I own both of them on Blu-ray. So I was like, fuck it. It's been a long time since I've seen the first one, and because I need a 2-movie little series, there is a second one. Let's go for it. So I threw on these two last night, and yeah, not a great series. Not a great series. Now this is a remake of an Asian flick called Into the Mirror, which doesn't surprise me at all. This seems like an Asian idea, as far as like it's a phone call that kills you in 7 days, or it's a videotape you watch, or it's a fucking computer screen like Pulse, or it's I don't know. For some reason, I can almost always guess when these are like Asian inspired, and this entity being trapped in a mirror. Now, this is not by any means the first film to have an evil mirror. I don't know what that would be, but I know that, Boogeyman back in the 80s is at least one, or Mirror, I think that was in the early 90s, or like 1990. It doesn't matter, but for some reason I was watching this, I was like, this feels very like Asian inspired, whether it be Japanese or Chinese or whatever. I was like, and when I looked up, it was like remake of that. I was like, I knew it. Anyway, so this is, now the whole reason I wanted to rewatch this is because of a couple things. Number one, it has Kiefer Sutherland in it. That alone has you excited. It has me excited. And it was directed by Alexander Aja, who is a pretty damn good horror director. So I was like, all right, you got those two guys here. You've also even got Amy Smart in here, Jamie Palomino herself. When Jamie smiles, it takes me miles, which is one of probably my top 10 favorite comedies of all time. If you guys haven't seen Just Friends, it's the best. It is so funny from beginning to end every single time. It's one of the most rewatchable comedies ever for me. Anyway, but so it's got Kiefer, it's got Aja. It has a pretty high rating on IMDb for a horror movie, especially like a movie like this that feels kind of generic. It has like a 6.1 something in the high, like in the sixes, which is kind of abnormal for a movie like this. It's got a sequel as well, which typically says like the movie was either well received or it made decent money enough to warrant the sequel. So I was like, all right, I want to give this thing another chance. And so I threw this on, and it's basically everything you expect it to be. It's a possessed mirror. Kiefer Sutherland is this recently new hire on security guard for this burnt down department store that was once like a mental institution. And then he starts seeing things in the mirror. The things that are in the mirror start coming true, and that is the one thing I do like about this franchise, is that the mirror can control your body. There's nothing that it can do, but there's nothing you can do about it. So if you're looking in the mirror and the mirror starts to like take a knife to your throat, it's not like your arm goes up with it. You're just like sitting there watching like what the hell's going on, and then whatever they use, whether it's a sharp implement on the neck or if it's ripping your jaw off or whatever, you're just going to sit there and feel it. Like Kiefer Sutherland gets lit on fire in this, and he feels every bit of it. Now, that being said, I actually just came up with a super negative for the film that I didn't even think of until right this second, until I said that. Okay, I have a serious issue with this movie now. I don't know why this didn't come to me in the moment, but I don't know, man. Can you explain this one to me? All right, so in the movie, whatever physical damage this fucking mirror does to you, if you start grabbing your jaw and pulling it off, your fucking jaw comes off your body. It's not like one of those movies, and this is something I do really like about the movie, but they created an issue, which I'm about to bring up. I like that it's not, oh, he had a heart attack. Like, in the mirror, typically the way these would play out would be, you see it in the mirror, you can feel all the pain, all this and this, like he's stabbing themselves, and they're like, ah, and they're like, you know, almost like a voodoo doll where they're like feeling it. But then when the coroner comes, they look perfectly pristine. They look preserved. They look fine, you know, otherwise, you know, besides. And then they'll open them up and they'll be like, it looks like they've had a heart attack, or that his organs started shutting down as if he was being stabbed or whatever. But in this movie, you sustain an injury, it keeps. So if it cuts your neck a little bit, there's a little kid who gets his neck fucking cut in this one, or is it the second one? That might happen in the second one. I think it is in the second one. Yeah, it is in the second one. Whatever. But it's still part of the franchise, it's part of the lore, right? So it matters. But anyway, Kiefer Sutherland gets lit on fire in this, and he's on fire for quite a while. And then the fire disappears, and he's fine. He has no burns on him. He's totally normal. He's not hurting anymore. He just kind of looks up. This makes no sense. I didn't even think of it until right now, but that makes no sense. Why is he not burnt? Why doesn't he have burns all over his body from being on fire for that fucking long? It wasn't like he was on fire for a second. He was on fire for like 45 seconds and almost head to toe. So why does he not have burns on his face, on his arms? You could be like, oh, maybe it's just under his clothes and we never see it in the movie. Bullshit. He'd be burned on his face, his hands, everywhere. His whole fucking body was on fire. Anybody got anything? Because I don't have anything. I can't come up with anything. Shit. How did I not catch that in the movie? When I said that, though, and I was just about to, you know, what happened there was I said that, like, oh, he got caught on fire, and then the jaw, and then I was like, it was really cool that they keep what they say. And then I'm like, wait, he was on fire, and they didn't keep that. So what gives? Makes no sense, right? That's a fucking problem. Anyway, so he is an ex-cop who killed a guy and is dealing with the mental anguish of that. This is explored upon almost not at all. Almost not at all. This is the only time, dude, if you would have got up to go to the bathroom, or if you would have just like, you know, someone would have whispered in your ear for a second, you know, that distracting friend who you bring along with you and they say shit to you during the movie and you're like, can you shut the fuck up before I break your face, before I rip your jaw off? You would have missed it. As far as I'm aware, there's only one mention of what he did to get off the force. And then she kind of a little later, you know, actually basically in that same scene is like, I defended you, you know, who's the one who talked to the paparazzi or to the reporters or whatever the fuck they were. I guess paparazzi is only there for celebrities, right? Nah, whoever takes photographs, the media, you know, the magazines and whatever. Anyway, but yeah, he's just like, I killed someone. You don't just get over that. And that's it. That's the only mention of it in the entire film. There's no exploration of it at all. Him struggling with it, like, it's so just washed over. Like, we need an explanation of why he's a security guard. And he was a cop, so this explains, like, why he's, you know, why he's able to investigate this so thoroughly and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that's pretty terrible, to be honest. This needs to be explored upon much better. And, you know, he was an alcoholic. He hasn't drank now in like 3 months, so he says to his wife. This is yet again something that's barely explored upon. He never struggles with a drinking problem in this movie. He never really struggles with the death of the person. We never even get to see it happen. We don't get to see any like talk about it. Nothing. So it's all in there for like zero reason except for like a throwaway line for us to go, oh, we understand this character. We understand his motivations. And some people might think that's good. Maybe some people are like, well, good. I don't want to see a fucking flashback scene, a couple minutes of him exploring this. But just more with the psychiatrist, more kind of getting into his head space of why he's so messed up. But I guess we don't need it, so we'll move on. I like the shots of the handprints inside the mirror. So when he goes to touch them and move it around, like there's no ability to smudge it because it's coming from inside the mirror, which would be impossible. So I think that's pretty cool. And The first time that he looks in the mirror and he sees his face drooping, I thought he was going to be like, "Hey, you guys." But he refrained, I suppose. And I do not buy for 1 second that after what he saw in that mall, he would ever go back. There's plenty of shit jobs out there for you to get in between your little hiatus from the police department, because he has his plan. He's coming back, you know. He's lost his wife, his kids over all of this. So he's trying to get back up on his feet. So he takes this real shitty security job guarding a burnt down place. Like, how hard is that job? And, you know, your talents can't be used elsewhere. Like, if I walked in that building and I saw the shit he did, like a building caught me on fire, you think I'd come to work the next day? I have a great work ethic, and I never call in sick, and I never miss anybody ever. But I've also never been doing someone's hair, looked into the mirror, went fucking full sloth from the Goonies, and then lit on fire, and then the next day was gung-ho to come on right back. Absolutely no chance in hell. Retirement. There's plenty of other hairdressing salons. There's plenty of other security guard gigs. Why would he stay there? Makes no sense. They don't give any reason to why he would come back the next day. He would have called in and been like, hey, they could have played on something. They could have played on, like, he could have talked to somebody, his therapist, like, it's all in your head. Don't you feel like you're just dealing with the death of this guy? And obviously you must have fallen asleep. This isn't real. You need to face this and that. And then, like, maybe he's on, you know, maybe something happened where he has to have this job. And if he leaves this job, he has no chance of coming back to the force. Like, the captain got him the job. And the captain's like, are you really going to throw this job away? Like, I was trying to give you this job to see if you could handle responsibility. And now you're telling me that what? You're seeing things in the mirror and that you're fucking, like, unable to do the job that I vouched for you? You know, there's lots of people that are looking for jobs right now. See what I'm talking about? I can write this better in 5 seconds off the top of my head, dude. Like, give motivation for why someone would come back after being lit on fire in a mirror. But there isn't any. There isn't any. It's not until his sister's death that I start to believe he'd come back. That's where he's a vengeful guy. He has an anger issue. They show that in the movie. He's not going to be... You know, he's not going to let that go. He wants vengeance for his sister. Him and his sister are, like, tight-knit, close, which is barely explored in this movie. So we have to just take him at its word that he loves his sister as much as he does in this movie. But I don't really get it. He's kind of a dick to her. And then when she dies, he's pissed off about it. But we don't really get to see any time where they're good. So we, as I said, we just kind of got to take it at its word that they're close. So this isn't explored upon. The relationship between him and his ex-wife, or his, I think they're still married, but him and his currently separated wife, it's also just like reduced down to one scene basically where he's there to visit his kid on his birthday and they have a little bit of a lover's quarrel and a problem. And thank God that Jennifer and I do not have this problem anymore. We never really honestly had this problem, but we've really put our differences aside no matter what. And we are so good about being co-parents. We're just, you know, I've always said that you got to put your kids before your pride. It has to be done. Every time that somebody says something that's going to affect it negatively, just let it go. You don't have to fucking stay. Unless, of course, they're being horrible about it. And this is going to detrimentally affect your children and your life because you're just like laying down and like taking it. No, not that. Just like little disagreements, things they say, just let it go, man. Just let it go. It's better for the kid. The only person that you're hurting is your child or children. Those are the only people being hurt by that kind of decision. And they're sitting here and screaming at each other in this, and the kid in the bathtub is plugging his ears and going under the water because he doesn't want to hear his parents fight anymore. Look at that. All for what? All for what? So you guys can still continue to be broken up? Now I get it. He wants to be around his kids, and she's like, hey, you have to call in advance. And he tells her outright, like, bitch, I fucking called you. Like, I've called you multiple times, and she doesn't have a good rebuttal. She's like, I don't want to fight. No, that's when I'd be pissed. Because I would be like, you know, dude, I'm trying to get a hold of you, and you won't. So your criteria is that I have to call you first. I did fucking call you, and you told me that it wasn't. Sorry, you told me to call you. I call you, and you won't answer. And then I'm here on my kid's birthday, and you're like, "Why didn't you call? You have to call." I did call. So I'm with him 100% on that, and I'd lose my fucking mind too. So in that very instance, that is where my pride would be, at the forefront, because that's bullshit. Oh, well, you got to call me. I've called you 100 times. You don't answer. Oh, I don't want to fight. Well, I do. If you're going to set rules, let's stick to them. I fucking called you. I called you multiple times. As I said, thank God Jen and I do not have this issue. We split the kids very, very amicably. No issues at all. In fact, we're very friendly these days. It's super nice. So, guys, if you have this problem, swallow your pride, man. It's not worth it. Your kids deserve you to, just take one for the team here and there. Somebody says something shitty to you, the ex-husband, the ex-wife, just let it go. Just go, okay, whatever. Don't let them walk on you, but at the same time, anyway, I'm not here to lecture, but you know me, I'm here to share life advice too. But this scene really kind of hit close to home, and it also was further kind of emotional, I suppose, because the little kid in this is Cameron Boyce, the actor that just recently died at like 20 something years old. So it was really sad to see him in this, especially since like Keanu Reeves' character in this is protecting him, like, oh, I want him to grow up and have a long life, and it's like, spoiler alert. It's such a shame, dude. Death is always a shame for the most part, 99% of the time. But it's especially terrible when it's someone so young and so promising. So it was sad to see him. Anyway, the scene where Amy Smart gets in the bathtub, is that her? Because it's like full on ass and side boob, like hard side boob. Like I don't know how there's not a nipple. She's so to the side. But then she's in the bathtub, and when she's getting her jaw ripped off, which looks awesome, by the way, it's the best scene in the movie. She's clearly wearing a bodysuit in there, making sure that nobody can see any part of her body. So I've always found it odd that women are so willing to show everything but their nipples. We have completely demonized the nipple. Like a girl will walk around with tassels on her tits, and it's like, oh well, that's okay, and like, oh, yeah. But if they were to like try to like start to show a little bit of the pink of the nipple, well, I mean, if you're white, obviously there's different colored nipples for different people, but your nipple, if you were to show the areola, is that more specific? Then it would be like, oh my God, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh my God. It's the same thing where like I'll be wearing boxer shorts and and I'll kind of like come out and people will be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're in your fucking underwear. Or like a girl will like come out in her bra and panties and they'll be like, what are you doing? You're in your underwear. And I'm like, really? She covers the exact same amount of her body at the pool. Exactly the same. It's the exact same cut. It's the exact same skin, everything. It's such a bizarre thing. But when I'm wearing boxers, I can wear the same exact size shorts and people are totally fine. We have a very weird conception in this country of like what's sexual and what's not, and this and that. Like, let me tell you something. Sex organs are not sexual unless they're in the act of having sex. That's the only time that, especially like boobs aren't even sexual. Boobs serve no real purpose, no practical purpose during sex. I mean, yes, it's great to play with them and suck on them and fucking do whatever you want to them. It's not practical. So I don't know. But I just find this odd that women are willing to show like every bit of their tit, but any areola is like too much. Oh, no, don't do that. That's my private area. This little bit of my tit right here, that's private. Everything else though, this whole part of it, the rest, totally open. Go for it. I don't get that. That's so confusing to me. Or like Mystique. Shit. Take Mystique from the X-Men movies. I was always blown away. She's completely fucking nude in that movie the whole time. It's clearly just her tits hanging there. But she has no nipples, so it's good to go. So if women like had their nipples surgically removed, would they be okay to show them off? I don't get any of this, man. I don't get any of it. It's so stupid to me. All right. Keanu Reeves, of course, brings his typical Jack Bauer to the table here. That's the character he plays in almost every movie these days in the last like decade or two. And he does this thing where he says please, and he always gets his way. So as long as he says please, watch any episode of 24. I don't care what Jack's asking somebody. He can be asking like, I need you to murder your children. And they're like, Jack, I can't. And he's like, come on, please, I'm running out of time. And they're like, fuck. All right, little Timmy, turn around, look at the flowers. Like, his please is absolutely intoxicating to people. They're like, I can't resist the please. He does it in this movie too. You know, he's basically asking his wife to risk her career. And she's like, no way. And he's like, please. And she's like, all right, even though you totally sound like a lunatic and I think you're drunk, I'm just going to risk my career. I'm only a doctor. It's not like hard to get this job or anything. You know, I might lose my license, but what the fuck is, 10 years of like medical school and residency and all that stuff and hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical debt? Whatever. Just come on back. But he's pleased, man. Shit's sweet on the lips. But also, he has mannerisms. I always notice everyone's mannerisms. If you watch an actor enough, almost every actor has these mannerisms and they bring them to every movie. And Keanu Reeves has that. Keanu Reeves. Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland has that. Keanu Reeves has his own as well. But Kiefer Sutherland has these like very defined attributes and actions that he has in his movie where he gets like very flustered and he scoffs and he like looks around. He does it every movie. He's like, oh, I don't have time for this. He always does it. Everything I've ever seen him in. Which is funny because Joe Barenthal, I think that's how you say his name, the dude who plays the Punisher in the Marvel Netflix series, he does basically the same thing, except for he laughs and does it. So somebody says something, he's like, and he looks around as he laughs, and then he comes back. He does it in everything, whether he's Shane, whether he's fucking Frank Castle, it doesn't matter. Whatever he's in, he always does that. With Sicario, doesn't matter. He does this laugh and he looks around. Brad Pitt scratches the back of his head. You know, they all have their mannerisms. Anyway, moving on. You just got to pay attention. There's no way they would let him in, no matter what, to be in that room. He contaminates the fuck out of the crime scene when he comes in on his sister dead. When he pulls her head up though and her jaw falls off, awesome. The whole jaw scene is phenomenal. It's really, really good. There's a little shitty CGI, a little bit, but for the most part, it's really gory and it's pretty cool. The opening throat slit's good. I forgot to mention that. But with Aja, I expect great gore. But as I said, he vomits in the sink. He touches everywhere on the bathtub. There's no way. And the guy's watching, the detective's watching him do it like, oh yeah, no big deal. Dude, he would be a suspect. In fact, he is a suspect. And they're just letting him contaminate everything. No fucking way. I like that he can't break the mirror. It's not like the Lasser glass where it like makes you think that you're doing something and then you look up and it's like impossible to break the mirror, which is really cool, by the way. But this one's not like he shoots it and then the bullets kind of just like suck into it and then it fixes itself. So there's no breaking this mirror. So that ain't the way to defeat the thing in this. Then he finds out that they are looking for this woman who put the demon in the mirror. She was like a little kid. She was possessed. This doctor made her look into the mirror, and then it made her look into the mirror so long it like trapped itself in the mirror. And then I don't understand really anything about this because then he goes and he gets her at gunpoint. He's like, look, I ain't taking no for an answer, and takes her out of there at gunpoint. That's hilarious and awesome. Takes her over. She gets in there. The mirror demon is attacking the kids and the family and everything as he's trying to get this demon vanquished. And then for some reason, because she's there, the demon blows up her body. She explodes, and it's awesome. Gore is good for sure in this movie. Blows up her body, and then I'm thinking, okay, so it just wanted to bring her back there to die? What good is this? But then it's like the demon's out in full force at this point, so it needed her body to be released from the mirror so that it could just be out in the open as itself. I don't understand this at all. That makes no sense to me. I have been holding off that yawn this entire time. It just keeps coming up, and I'm like, don't do it. I don't want to do it. This movie's boring me to talk about. No, I'm actually enjoying it. Talking about it anyway. But I don't understand this at all. Like, what's happening here? It had to kill her to be released from the mirror? They probably said it somewhere in the movie, but as I said, I typically get about an hour into these things, and then I start checking out when I'm not caring for them. I'm just like, oh, fuck, let's go. So dialogue definitely escapes me. But regardless, even if they explained it, I doubt the explanation would have sufficed. Like, I would have been saying, like, why didn't it just take possession of her body again and then use her as the vessel? It completely explodes her. She has got nothing left. So I don't understand that. Then he fights this demon who, if this thing, and maybe this is why these guys possess bodies, because as soon as they're in the flesh in any one of these movies, 99 times out of 100, the person fighting them, who's typically like nobody, I mean, he's a cop at least, but for the most part, it's like nobody. But in this movie, they vanquish them so fast. And it's like, they're the Antichrist? They're this plague that's going to, be leashed upon us? They were killed by a fucking security guard. Like, they were killed by nobody. They were killed by nothing. The guy didn't even have anything. And he vanquished this demon in like 5 minutes. Like, if he threw macaroni and cheese on the stove, and as soon as it hit boiling, he threw the pasta in, by the time he killed the fucking demon and got back to the pasta, it wouldn't be overcooked. It might even be al dente. Like, it might still be too hard to eat. Like, it's too quick, man. These things are supposed to be these devastating plagues on the earth, and it's like one mall security guard, a burnt down mall, by the way. Who the hell would even need a security guard for that? I know they want to reopen the building. There's legal issues. I heard all that bullshit, but this guy by himself can take this thing out without any knowledge of how to defeat it or even what it is, or like how to, like, why doesn't it just jump right at him and kill him? Because it's a movie, obviously, and we have to have the hero win. Although in this movie, we kind of get like a Saw music type of ending where it's all explained, and the sound, the music where it's all explained in Saw, kind of reminiscent of that. Except for in this, we find out that he's trapped in the mirror world, which looks exactly like ours, except for everything's flipped around, and he can interact, I guess, with the mirrors, so he can like touch the mirrors. Now, will he become the demon? Will he become something? Like, I don't understand what, like, he's in the mirror, he's trapped in the mirror now, so can he go and like knock on his kid's mirror and be like, hey, I'm here? I don't know, but definitely a sad conclusion for him, but not enough people die, for sure. Not really sure why the girl's relevant here, why she needs to be there. I know I brought this up, but I just don't get it. And yeah, I just wish they would have like killed one of the kids or something, because maybe it's this one where they slit the kid's throat and just cut it a little bit and it bleeds. God, I watched them like right after the other, and there's another family, and No, it must have been this one. Yeah, because there is no little kid in the next one. Okay, that makes sense. So it's this one where the kid gets his throat cut. They should have slit that kid's throat, man. That would have been brutal and awesome. I know it's fucked up to talk about dead kids, but you know, you want to be surprised, and this movie definitely doesn't surprise me. I was not a big fan of this one. It just had too many issues with it, which I think I went over thoroughly enough. So, anyways, let's move on.